Hello and welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for 14.22, and we have mega changes once more. Every patch now, 1000 champions are being buffed and nerfed, and systems are being adjusted. And we will see how that affects the regular Joe jungler while he just wants to snack on some crumbs. We will go over the best junglers overall, as well as for high MMR and low MMR. But remember, with Season 14 coming to a close, you need to maximize all of the jungling you do on these champions, and for that, you need to head to Virkayu.gg. Not only do I have a free jungle improvement resource, I also have a dedicated program with jungle video courses, jungle coaching, coaching classes, a jungle VOD library, special weekly content you'll see nowhere else. All of this available through a premium jungle Discord, which is highly active, a huge community that help each other climb using my jungle program and courses. As we have seen by everybody hitting their peak rank goals in Split 1 and Split 2 of Season 14 as fast as possible. So to climb faster than everybody you know and to jungle div every game you play, head to Virkayu.gg or click the link in the description below. The S tier page might look a little bit the same, but it's also quite different. You see, small system changes have an impact. Graves' case here, they've changed Ghostblade and Opportunity. Opportunity now has more AD and is more the focused build, no movement speed. Ghostblade now gives you movement speed on passive and gives you movement speed on active. A little bit redundant, but Graves isn't complaining. His power has been maintained in this patch. Now against AP junglers, he is a little bit weaker, but the AP jungler needs to be able to match his tempo of farming, fisting, and controlling the map. In terms of the Ghostblade, he actually really enjoys that shift. While there's less AD, the bigger problem for Graves a lot of the time is being a little bit low ranged and, being ranged himself. He can be kited against certain champions. Having that base 4% movement speed go up kinda circumvents that damage loss because he already overkills you regardless. However, you will notice that 5 AD loss in terms of your regular autos and clears. You might have to chuck a few extra autos here and there over the course of the early game, but really it doesn't change anything because the movement speed will offset that and obviously be better in those fighting moments. Collector is still hilariously strong in him, he's still got low doms. Basically, his build path is set there, and the most important part of Graves jungling is do not be a level 2 cheese freak. Please just do regular jungling. Your power is way more potent when you do that. You can really take it to any jungler with read and react jungling. Graves can kind of be a Sith Lord jungler in a way, make a mistake, and you're gonna have a red lightsaber throwing at your face. In this case, it's the red of his cigar butt. And speaking about butts, or lack thereof, skinny leg boy Virkayu is second on this list. Again, most people are delusional about this champion. He has been Astro Strong the entire year. If I were to award Best Jungler for Season 24 at this particular point, it would be Virkayu. He has been the most consistent presence in the meta. Yes, he's been shifted around a few times, but because he has great itemization diversity, even though they have cut down those items specifically, he has received direct touches himself. Now, this touch will hurt a lot more when he goes, obviously, the correct build paths, thinking about the Trinity Forces and Steric Gauges and Sundered Skies, but you also, of course, still have the Kraken build paths. I am more of a fan of the Kraken Rush. In an isolated sense, it is better, but when you talk about items in a full build set, it kind of offsets quite nicely. However, here you do have the Kraken Slate Titanic Hydra build path, really activating those autos, having that auto attack reset, and really splashing damage on the back end of your fights. And all of this makes sense because if you're good on this champion and you're maining it, actually, even if you're mediocre on this champion and you're maining it, you should be able to splash a lot of LP. And a note on the guy who's going to be making splashes because you can't see where he's walking is Lee Sin, and it does feel like a lot of the Lee Sins we play also have no idea where they're walking. But the base AD buff makes the champion quite unholy strong, even in scenarios where he shouldn't actually be able to get away with it. He can, that's what your champion does. He's an outplayable, mechanically based champion. However, barrier to entry for him has decreased significantly over many moons ago. By that I mean, yes, you can even play him on gold. Half a decade ago we were saying, look, if you're gold, you probably shouldn't play it. You can play this in gold, platinum, and emerald. Look, you're not going to be as effective on it because your jungling will be the weak point. But if you're a mechanical god on him and you can get good at that, then eventually once you nail your jungling, you're looking at a potent combo to go all the way up to Master Plus. Very, very easily. However, some people don't have the mechanics to pull him off, they don't have the jungle knowledge, and they end up getting stuck a little bit. You have to be honest about that and be brutally honest with yourself, don't lie. Because when you actually recognize the two phases of Lee Sin, the jungling and the mechanics, and you know where your weaknesses lie, the champion is really, really strong. There's nothing that can stop you at all other than excuses, and we don't like those over here. Now, Kha'Zix is also one of those where people might have excuses. I'm so fat, I lost, because your positioning in teamfights is probably not very good. Remember, Kha'Zix is an assassin. He snowballs, he's got great itemization. He will notice that shift in the Ghostblade opportunity, just where those stats change a little bit. But overall, Edge of Night plus Cyril's Grudge, These things are as standard as they've always been and will continue to be strong on this assassin. You have to hold yourself in check with regards to your jungle pathing. Check yourself to make sure your early games are good. Are you snowballing appropriately? Are you 0-0-0 at 12 minutes and the enemy jungler's running away with it? Guess what? Even in those cases, you can still come back in the mid to the late because your champion really slingshots with itemization. The goal is just to get more itemization before everybody else, in which case your teammates will want to slingshot themselves into your loving embrace as you carry them for free LPs. Truly a potent jungler that does kind of fly under the radar a little bit, not a pun for his R-Evolve pathway, but it is important to recognize strength and recognize that you are at fault if you cannot climb with this champion. Whereas in Skarner, despite the damage nerfs, he's still an S-tier jungler. I know people are like, but how can Skarner be S-tier? Look at the win rate data, go play against one, go play one. You'll notice if you check all three of those things, wow, he's strong in all situations. Now, I have decimated a Skarner on this patch already, and that's because he was a bad player. It had nothing to do with the Skarner. And again, with tanks like this, even though his damage is down, it's still more than enough, and the champion has so much CC and so much presence that basically it's looking to be like an amped up Sejuani, but for solo queue. And he can actually do a lot more damage than she does without building any damage items. Yes, he can feel a little weird with those damage nerfs in terms of dishing it out, but remember, you become absolutely unkillable. And when you're unkillable, eventually the enemy will die. Unless they pick Nidalee, in which case they will be healing. That healing buff from last year was just so silly to make her a low elo viable champion. Broke her in high elo, and then when they nerfed her, they didn't undo the heal, they undid other things. Just nerf the heal, and the champion is fine. It is ridiculous to have something that is that oppressive early game, snowballing the map like a Graves does, having mechanical outplays like a Lee Sin does, and then healing everybody like a Soraka does. It does become quite obnoxious. That being said, she does have specific counters. I enjoy playing Warwick into her, that kind of takes care of business. Tanks will take care of business, but that comes with a caveat of can you survive the early game against her, because a good Nidalee will apply so much pressure, you never really truly become a tank. She just chunks you out and then chucks you out of the game. However, Elise doesn't really waste such time. Cocoon hits, you die. Cocoon hits, you die. You can out-tempo an Elise because they will feel a lot more stress trying to do weird cheese level 2 invades, or trying to be hyperactive early. If you can navigate this with good warding and tracking pathing, you should have no issue avoiding her. However, she is squishy. You can kill her. You can get a lead on Elise and become the Elise now, especially if you play another AP champion with a lot of burst. However, that's just giving you some hope in terms of how to counter it, because otherwise, a well-piloted Elise with that much ridiculous strength becomes something unholy. With each kill she racks up, and basically looking at a bush becomes something that generates an anxiety attack. Finally, we have Jarvan the Fourth, and remember his place on this list kind of goes up and down as the patches go through different meta shifts. He's really like a barometer for how many strong champions are in the game, because I view him really as like baseline strength, baseline best jungler. And while his data has improved and I do think he's in a great spot, I don't really fear a Jarvan, but I fear a Jarvan, if you know what I mean. You're not thinking, hey, this is a free matchup, I'm gonna be okay. You're thinking, okay, this could be free and I could dominate, or he could be really good, in which case I'm being invaded, my team's being destroyed, I don't win the team fights. You have to respect the champion and kind of feel out if this is going to be a good jungler or a bad jungler. Now, this doesn't mean everyone below him is really bad at jungling. It just means that I feel Jarvan's a little stronger this patch, and there's few really dominant picks above him that kind of control the meta to a large degree, and that's in part because Nocturne's not playing as well this patch. Udyr was nerfed, and as we go to the S tier page, Kayn is still great and definitely worthy of the S tier position. I just think Jarvan is performing a little bit better as a de facto choice. Remember, for Assassin Kayn, you like the Ghost Blade, you like the opportunity, your reality doesn't change the 2-item spikes, and honestly, with the Kayn getting that movement speed early on Ghost Blade, you don't really need the damage to really outdo anybody, but the movement speed on one of the most hyper-mobile champions in the game, absolutely broken statistic, and no one can kite you or deal with you when you can get around the map that quickly. Diana doesn't need to get around the map quickly, but as I just covered on my gameplay channel, she can. She is one of the epitome junglers for balancing farming, ganking, skirmishing, objective control, team fighting, and split pushing. All of these, say, macro jungle concepts can basically allow you to measure how good or bad a jungler is. Diana's just good at all of them, especially later on when you have itemization. You will one-tap a Soraka, you will one-tap the back line. But if your team fighting is honestly really, really bad and your team are behind in gold, split push a little bit, force rotations, take 2 on and kill them, or just walk away and go do something else. Really, it's about your decision making with Diana, because a champion in itself, a lot of unhit, a lot of burst damage, a lot of terror damage as well, and you're looking at just a great well-rounded jungle package. And if you want that package to be delivered on time, make sure you go with the Willem Express. He delivers a Nunu every single time, who plays a flute when you open your package in the background. That package needs to be a goddamn Leandries. Stop building whatever the hell else you're building. Build Leandries, win games. go tank afterwards, win games. It's really that simple. The Andrew spike on this champion is so insanely good in the win rate data and in feel and in execution, there's no reason not to go it. I think at the time of recording, we saw 46 redemption builds or something like that. Guys, it was absolutely awful on Inspire. Never go that build. It is atrocious. All I want is all of you, my friends, all of you junglers to climb. I want you to reach your ranked goals by the end of Season 15. If you just build Nunu and Willem correctly, you'll be there next week. If you keep building like you're building, you're never going to get there before Season 25. And I hope by Season 25, Wukong is really, truly dead, but apparently people were not sick enough of watching this in pro play for years, basically a decade at this point, and the 2 pixels of this monkey feces flinging around the map has been buffed yet again. And because of that, his win rate data is supreme. Yes, even though they max a W last, having 4 seconds of uptime on that warrior trickster means he can shift around the map a lot more smoothly, slyly, and can enter the backline of your team thusly. So be aware of the entry point for the Wukong. It's up a lot more frequently. His escapes are more frequent. Everything is more frequent, and the bonks will come. Trust. Karthus, on the other hand, he was nerfed, and then he looked at everybody and said, you know how many times I've been nerfed in my life? I have never given one shit about it, because Riot Games have no idea what makes me strong. And it's true, because he's still strong, and he presses R and he farms, and there you go. And most people just don't really play the champion properly, but he doesn't really need to play properly anymore, because the meta is such that people forget that Karthus exists, and then they die to him while they're doing Grump, and they're like, wait! And if you realize you should have just been playing Echo, then you actually would have avoided that ultimate with your reset button. This is the new pick on this patch because obviously I look at the data, I look at who I'm playing, who I'm facing, I scout a lot, I kind of fuse all of these things together and you start to notice who is actually having a stronger impact, not only for the farming, but also the PvP aspect. The meta has shifted to having a little bit more fighting and rotational events going on right now, and Echo is really the master of that. Counter ganking using the 2.25 second stun, rank 1 on W, you got missing HP proc on that one, you got a built-in phase rush. Really the champion is built for these kinds of no real identity metas, where a lot of things are kind of balanced in a way. Obviously not as great as Season 12, everything was really balanced back then before pads. Delete them, bring back the old days, but Echo really is back to that position of, hey, I represent pure jungle well-roundedness and I can do what needs to be done. And late game, I will absolutely and totally eviscerate the Fed Draven that your bot lane fed because they're inept. And if you're really truly inept and you just want to win without thinking, play Baveth. You can't Astro level 2 anymore, but of course, get level 6 on the grubs. Most important, guys. Get Kraken first, get grubs, get your true form from first grubs. If you're not getting 6 plus true form on the first grubs, adapt your pathing to do that. Because once you've done that, now you can invade. Now you can hippity-hoppity walls. Now you can dive and get resets. Now you can control dragons, etc., summon fishies, take turrets, win game. Now I personally value Nocturne significantly higher than this slot, but as I said, I gotta think about more than just my own personal ratings here. We try to be a lot more objective than every other list, and his data just isn't looking as good. So while my personal hang-ups on this champion are quite strong, I despise facing it, I recognize that a lot of other junglers have no issue facing it and can navigate him a little bit more easily. That being said, that data should offset nicely. I do expect it to rise a little bit as the meta develops. Remember, Udyr is gone, Lily is gone. So in theory, he could be a little bit stronger in those matchups, but we'll really wait to see what's going on exactly with the Nocturne. However, as always, build regular, farm regular, get 6 regular, kill ADCs regular. And you will see, because in the low elo page, he's at the top. His data is just absolutely fine there. I love these little data shifts as the first day of the patches shift over. You kind of see who's doing well in Master Plus, who's doing well in Silver, who's doing well overall, and you can kind of bring everything together. As always, I do release a tier list infographic to everybody on the emailing list, so make sure you get that one. Remember, it's still righteous. A lot of people think the warrior changes are clunky. I watched a few OTPs play. They actually like it and think it's fine, so I don't think it's a consensus opinion on how those feel. I do think people need to get used to it a little bit just to understand the different W feel. The R hitbox is lovely, being gigantic in size. I enjoy that one as well. Yeah, it can feel clunky, but the champion has aspects of that. Overall, I will get to testing myself. I'm known for playing this champion as well. And we keep an eye on the data, but the data for low elo is really supreme. And you'll notice, you know, the regulars here, Diana's, Briar's, Shyvana's, and Viego's, but the Teemo is here. I've made videos on this champion, the hidden builds, the discussion on the builds, and I've made a 1v9 carry video, which I will link in the box at the end of the video, showcasing why and how this champion greatly represents the jungle meta. It's not just one or two things that have allowed the Teemo to dominate, it is the fact that he represents the jungle meta very, very well, in terms of items, in terms of matchups, and in terms of how experienced ganks and objectives work. He is finding a way to flourish with his beautiful VGU. On the high elo page, actually significantly less exciting. We've got the Graves, Viego, Lee Sin, standard stuff. We got the Nidalee, the Skarner, the Elise, the Kha'Zix, and the Hecarim's the one I kind of thought about putting in the A tier page on this patch, but really he's again really well executed by Smurfs and people who understand how to jungle with Hecarim. The champ itself is categorically very strong, but we're in this position where people are not one-shotting by default, and you have to think a little bit more before you jungle. I don't know what era we're in where Hecarim has a more respectable curve than the Lilia, who's really just free thinking. Nah, who we kidding? There's no thinking when you play Lilia. The champion design is an abomination, and I'm happy her win rate is 45%. She deserves it. But in high elo, yeah, you can still kind of play whatever the hell you want as long as you're good enough. I know that's a bit of a cop-out, but it is true. The Kindred isn't performing as well as I would like to think. Likewise for the Jarvan, but you do have great choices. The stereotypical pigs, the Xin Shaos, and the one-trick Rengars. All of these people are having an absolute fun time in high elo. These are just the ones that are performing the best, are picked the best, and give you the best potential without necessarily having to learn a whole new champion from the ground up. But if you do want to learn a champion from the ground up, make sure you click this video to learn how to actually jungle them.
Go on, click the video. You know you want to. Do it. There are rules. You watch the video, you watch another video. Click it. Click it. Click it now.